Welcome to Via Voices, the podcast dedicated to exploring the many facets of assisted living and memory care. In each episode, we will delve into a range of educational topics featuring expert guests, real-life stories, and practical tips and guidance to empower seniors and their families. Via Voices is your trusted resource for making informed decisions when it comes to senior living. So I'm here today with Ira Branson, our Executive Director of our Tucson properties, and Amy Schumann, our Executive Director of our Sierra Vista properties. So let's get started. So today we're going to talk about when is the right time to move to assisted living. And we'll start off with a little story. So my memory of that would be a lady in Sierra Vista who used to walk from her house to the grocery store every day. And she did this for many, many years, and she was in great shape and she loved to walk. And one day she got lost on her way home. And so they checked things out to see what was going on. And then life went on, but then very quickly again, she got lost again. So here was a lady that liked to walk, that could no longer walk. So moving to Via Elegante, at least in the assisted living setting that we have, she was able to walk around the community. She probably put on 10 miles a day and was very, very happy and was safe. And so I think when somebody's activities or actions are no longer safe, probably a good time to think about moving to assisted living. Amy, you have a story?
Yeah, I've got a couple of these. A lot of times we get families in that are just looking. Mom and dad say they don't need assisted living yet, but we feel it coming and we know it's going to come at some point. Recently, I've had a couple of stories that stand out, one in which they weren't quite ready for assisted living and they had caregivers in the home. A caregiver unfortunately left something down where their family pet could get it, resulted in thousands of dollars in medical, a lot of lost sleep, a lot of added stress for this family that wasn't quite ready at the time, but now realized that the caregivers in the home were adding more stress than what would be if they put their loved one in an assisted living. Along the same lines, I get a lot of the same thing in terms of we're not quite ready yet. And then a week or two later, they're back in my office. Recently, I had that happen. Physician was recommending assisted living. Dad was insistent he didn't need assisted living yet. He was living in independent living. He was still okay to take care of himself. Family didn't live in town, so they weren't seeing the decline as well that the physician was seeing when she was doing her visits. And it wasn't until 2 weeks later when I got the call that there'd been a fall and a hip fracture, and we were now in skilled getting the rehab that we needed prior to placement in an assisted living facility.
Right. In other words, you've fallen, you broke your hip, you're not safe, you can't go back home.
Right.
Always hard, always hard. I know we like to tell people the truth, which is when it's assisted living is month to month, and it's very possible that you could move to assisted living and actually get better. Right?
That is absolutely
and go home.
true.
And we've had that happen.
We've had that happen quite a bit. I remember a story of this gentleman who moved in. He's maybe in his mid-60s and had a massive stroke. He was actually one of our providers for food and stuff. And he came into our community and about 6 months later, he started walking again, was able to ambulate more and safely with the assistance of home health services that was coming into our community and was able to go home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I always tell people that
It's
can always
quite
happen.
possible.
And when you're
It's
talking to mom and dad and they're at the hospital, it's like you don't have to say, oh, you're going to assisted living and you're going to be there the rest of your life and everything is going to change. You can just say, hey, this is a good next step. Go to assisted living from your rehab center, from your acute care, from the hospital. They'll be able to make sure you're eating right, you're taking the medications you're supposed to. physical therapy and occupational therapy can come into the assisted living location, and you can actually get stronger and get better, and we'll get you back home. So it's not like we're selling the house, we're breaking the lease on the apartment. It's just, let's just take a month and let's just see if we can get you better. And that's where it goes. And I won't say that that 9 out of 10 times they go home, but, you know, because most people wait to move to assisted living till the very last thing. I've always said assisted living is really needs-based. In other words, people think about it and they talk about it, but everybody wants to stay home as long as they can, right? We all
Nobody
wanna,
ever wants to move into assisted living.
right. We all
That is
want to
the
stay
honest
in our
truth
house
about
as long
that.
as we can.
Exactly.
So, but then something happens, right? You fall, you break your hip, you can't go back home. You're out on a walk and you get lost and you can't go back home. So, but the other thing is sometimes when people are at home alone, they're in their routine that's safe for them. They're watching the same TV, they're doing their morning routine, they're eating the same things, and not so good unless the kids are bringing over dinner or taking them out for dinner. So their nutrition goes down. They forget to take the medications. I know there are many family members that become parents, right? Calling mom, did you take your pills today? Oh, show me. And now we can FaceTime and see if they really took the pills. And, you know, did you do this? Did you do that? And so maybe the thought about a good time to go to assisted living is when you're no longer the child, you're like the parent to them. I mean, I see that many times. People coming in that are just, you know, I keep telling mom this, or I keep telling mom that, or I try to do this and I try to do that. So we've seen people come into our community, family members they have this look in their eyes like, what am I going to do? How can I do this? I keep talking to mom or dad, and they're saying there's no way they're going to move. And I don't know what to do because I've become their parent. I'm always looking after them and telling them what to do. So can you think of a story like that?
Yeah, so I've had specifically a husband who's not wanting to let go, not wanting to let go of his wife. He thinks that, oh, she's completely independent. She's still doing well, but you can see the tiredness in his face because, you know, they're up and down in the middle of the night. They're needing a lot of redirection. Their wife is trying to walk out the door in the middle of the night. That is when we sit down with the families when they tour and say, you know, if you're doing that, we can see you're tired too. You have to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of her.
Yes, you just made me think of a story of a guy who was taking care of his wife with dementia for a really long time, and then he was diagnosed with cancer and didn't have much time to live, and knew he was the caregiver. But so we moved his wife in. He hung out, spent a lot of time with us, and
I know who you're talking about.
and then ultimately passed away. And we took care of his wife for a few more years, but she became family, and that's really touching when we can do that. And I know he was felt at peace with the decision that he made. So
I think that's the biggest thing in moving your loved one to a community, right? Is finding that peace and knowing that your loved one is going to be taken care of, that peace and knowing that you are going to be communicated with. That
you're not dropping them off in a
you're
black hole
not
and
just
only hearing
dropping
when
them
things are
off.
like bad.
Exactly.
You want to know what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's important as well. I hear a lot of, oh, they fell, they broke a hip, they need to come in, or they're in the hospital, or they're in rehab, or something along those lines. But I think it's important for families to remember that we want to catch it before you're getting to that point. We want you to know the signs to look for when they're at home before they've fallen and broken their hip. Is mom losing weight? Is dad going on his usual walk and maybe ending up at the neighbor's house? Are you noticing that you're going for your visits and the house is just a mess and there's no food in the refrigerator that's fresh? Make sure that you're picking up on those signs for your loved ones when you're doing your visits or your phone calls. Keep your ear out. Are they reporting the same story 10 times in a row? We want to catch them before they've fallen and they're coming to
Before
us
the
from a
emergency,
traumatic
yeah.
event. Include your loved one in the journey. I have a lot of folks, especially in the Sierra Vista area, that are coming looking for themselves before they get to that point. That's not a bad idea either. If you know that you've been diagnosed with dementia and it's early onset, you are still able to do a lot of the things at home by yourself, but you want to take the burden off of your children, off of your medical power of attorney to have to make the choice for you. You are also empowered to make that decision yourself and to go into these facilities and to request the tour and the information so that you know ahead of your diagnosis where you want to end up and you still have some control of the situation. And I think that's imperative in these situations.
And I think people want control, even with dementia.
Absolutely.
They want to be able to say what they want and how they think about it and what's important to them. And then also they get embarrassed too.
Yeah.
They're embarrassed when they can't remember someone's name or they lose their memory. They come up with a good
They
what's
come
the
up with
story?
a cover
Right.
up.
A cover up, a good cover
Yeah.
up. Oh yeah, that's very interesting. Or
And I think that's important, what you just mentioned as well, is look out for those questions that have a direct answer, but you're not getting the direct answer. You're getting the go around the answer, Oh, what day is that appointment? Oh, it's on the calendar. I know what day it is. Look for those avoidance techniques that we see in early onset dementia and Alzheimer's, where they are still trying to maintain control of their lives, but yet we notice that their memory is slipping and they don't know the direct answers to those questions. When I'm doing my evaluations to determine if somebody is appropriate for assisted living, those are things that I'm looking for. Sometimes I go out into the community and I'm doing an evaluation and these folks can have conversations. You wouldn't know that they need memory care until you ask the right questions. So make sure that when you're talking to your loved one, you're asking questions that require a specific answer and you're looking for that answer. And if you're getting the roundabout answer that is a generalization because maybe they don't know that answer, keep that in the back of your mind that now may be the time to mention maybe going out in the community and seeing what they have available for assisted living services.
I know doctors are the ones that diagnose dementia, but do you do like a mini mental or some kind of, can you talk about that?
We do. So when we go into the community, if you've decided to move forward with placement for your loved one, a lot of places will have an evaluation that has to be done prior to placement. As a nurse, when we're going out in the community with your loved ones, there's a mini mental status that can be done once they're in facility, but we utilize the BIMS when we're out in the community. And what that is it's straightforward questions. I always like to tell
BIMS
them.
an acronym for something or?
It is.
Do you know?
However, what you're looking for is specific answers on that, just like I'm recommending for the families to do. They can even do that at home. Ask them, what year is it? Who is the current president? A way to do it where it's not so obvious, because I'm sure that your loved one has had these assessments in the hospital setting or at their primary care doctors, is make it casual. Ask them something simple. Oh, what was your birthday again? I don't have my calendar out. Oh, how old are you going to be on your next birthday? That's coming up quickly. A lot of times when you make it into conversation, they don't feel attacked. Because 9 times out of 10, this has come up already. It's not something new to them. You don't want to make them uncomfortable in these situations.
And I can see how it would be hard in a doctor's office, knowing you're under the microscope to answer the questions. And then you could Google a BIMS test,
You
right?
can,
And get
absolutely. You can do that online.
BIMS,
Yep,
right?
BIMS.
And you can get a copy of it and you could make that your dinner conversation.
Yeah.
With some nice questions to subtly ask mom or dad and score it yourself.
Ira, do you have ways that when you're out in the community and we're doing these assessments, I know, like I said, I like to make it conversational. Do you have some ideas for that as well that maybe you've used in the past where it gives them a little sense of not necessarily being evaluated for placement, but just casual conversation that you're looking for answers to?
Yeah, when typically when I go in, a lot of families are like, "Don't tell mom, don't tell dad that who you are and where you're coming from." So it's typically like, "Hey, I'm from the insurance company, or I'm from your doctor's office," and I'll get the doctor's name prior to, so that the story seems legit. But it's just being warm and friendly when you're going in and talking to them, and they'll start talking.
Yep.
I mean, you just ask a few questions and they'll start talking and giving you the information. Oh, I heard that you had a fall recently. When was that fall? And then they'll say, oh, that was like 5 months ago. And it just happened the weekend before, and they were hospitalized for it. So it's like you said, asking those right questions and figuring out where they're at mentally in their cognitive space, how they're doing with that. So
Yeah, and families can do that too. Don't think that just because you're related to them, you can't ask these questions as well. You can always let your loved one know, hey, I need to reach out to your insurance company to make sure that we're getting all of the services available to you. Do you think it would be beneficial to have a shower chair? Do you think that it's hard for you to stand when you're taking your shower? Is there certain things that, are you skipping some meals? Do you want me to see if they'll cover nutrition drinks so that way we can have those shipped here and then you'll get a better idea. Is mom skipping meals, right? Because she's going to want the nutrition drinks if they're covered. So doing a little bit of that investigative side of it, as if you're working with the insurance company, can be done by those of you at home as well. Don't feel like it has to come from someone like us who's now going to meet with your loved one in your home. You can do that legwork first so that you have a better idea of what they need.
And how many times have we seen the daughter or the son that's been taking care of mom and dad for the past 6 years in their house, and they're at wit's end? I just can't do this anymore.
they're tired.
That is after the time that someone should move to assisted living.
Exactly.
But that's a time when we catch a lot of people. So I remember when we first started this, it's like one of the nice things of what we're able to do being in this industry is relieve the burden from the caregiver that's taking care of mom or dad, and let them become children again. Let them
become family.
Let them become the family again.
And be able to come in and visit and make those memories versus having to do that, that caregiver work. Let us take the burden from that. And I think that is, there's a lot of guilt that comes with that from families. I always told her that I would take care of her no matter what, but there's no way that you are going to be able to give her the best care possible. One, if you're not educated on how to appropriately transfer mom, or if you're not educated on how to appropriately, change briefs and make sure that you're looking out for the signs of a UTI or an infection that's brewing when you don't have that professional training. It comes into that. There is a lot of stress and there is a lot of, just tiredness that comes from that. You are tired, and allow the people that are educated in that and have that experience to be able to care for mom while you're able to come in and visit and make those memories and join bingo.
And caring for someone is 24/7, 365. It does not stop. So we have amazing caregivers, but they work a 12-hour shift. And then they can go home, recharge their batteries, and come back and be fresh. And then they hand off to the person who's coming in for the evening that's doing the 12-hour shift. So if you think about all the stress that you're going through as a caregiver and then say, oh, well, in this environment, there's people that work and have time off and are able to recharge their batteries and take good care of mom. And we all, take turns. We're all 24/7. We're tied to our phones, but we have a really good team that works with us that knows when it's important to wake us up at 2 a.m. so we can help solve a problem, which we're always delighted to get those calls because we know we can really make a difference. And then ones that can say, oh, I've got this down, that can wait till the morning, and then I can talk to the team. But you guys take turns being on call, and it's important to have somebody and to find an assisted living that does have an on-call line that you can reach a higher up at unique hours if you're really perplexed or have a question and need to get through. So looking for an assisted living that offers that 24/7 on call and that good communication makes all the difference in the world. And I think, talking about the guilt, what can relieve the guilt is good communication, right?
Absolutely.
Because if the assisted living that you choose is reaching out to you and talking to you regularly with, we call it the good, the bad, the ugly,
Yes.
right? If you're getting the real story from what's going on every day, and that's communicated well, not just to you, but to everyone in your family that's part of this journey, it can relieve a lot of guilt
And knowing that, oh, mom joined in bingo, or in knowing that, she joined in the activities that's happening in the community. That's huge for our families, especially families who may be out of state, out of town. Them seeing those types of emails and those types of communications from the people that are actually physically caring for their loved one makes a huge difference. Plus, it's a good topic point for them when they're calling and talking to their parents or
to know what's been going
on.
on.
Like, hey, I saw you joining bingo today. Well, what's happening.
So before we end today, I do want to take a minute on that 24/7 conversation and tell folks at home, set those boundaries at home as well. On topic for when is the right time, set those boundaries early. Are you going to allow it to disrupt your sleep? Are you going to allow it to disrupt your diet, your healthcare routine? Are you making it to your appointments? If you choose to stay home with your loved one and provide the care that they need, set those boundaries for you as your appropriate timeline. When it interferes with my sleep, that's when I will look. When it gets to the point where they can't read the notes that I leave them, that is when I will look. Set those boundaries for yourselves as well so that you don't reach the point that it is the frustrating part and you are frustrated and resentful of the fact that you're now the caregiver. Make sure that you set those boundaries before it gets there.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely great advice to look at it that way. But not many people do that.
Absolutely.
Because they're like, I promised you I would take care of you. You took care of me when I was a baby, and now I'm taking care of you. But it does get to the point where having someone else do it can really relieve some stress for you if you're handing mom or dad off to the right community that will care for them.
I agree.
Very good. Well, thank you all very much for joining us on this episode of Via Voices, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to and watching Via Voices, the podcast dedicated to exploring the many facets of assisted living and memory care. If you found today's episode informative, be sure to subscribe and tell a friend about us. We look forward to having you join us next time on Via Voices.